I'm affiliated with the Margaret Walker Alexander National Research Center. This is our technician over there. His name is Ryan Mays. He's a sociology major.
Okay.
All right. You ready? This is an interview with Dr. Kenneth Dean for the Jackson State University Civil Rights Collection. My name is Emanuel J. Abston, and I represent the Oral History Division of the Margaret Walker Alexander National Research Center. Good afternoon, Dr. Dean.
Yeah.
Glad to have you out, and welcome to Jackson State University. For the record, please give me a little background information. You have an undergraduate degree?
Yes, I went to college at Carson Newman College up in Jefferson City, Tennessee. That's a Baptist school.
Okay.
And after that, I did some seminary work at Southeastern in Wake Forest for a couple of years. Then I transferred to Colgate Rochester Divinity School in Rochester, New York, and I did 3 degrees there, actually, a Bachelor of Divinity and 2 masters, THM for teaching and a Master of Divinity in counseling, and then later I did a doctor's degree, and I did that in history.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Now, you are a resident currently of Mississippi?
No, right now I'm living in Carrollton, Georgia.
Oh, okay.
My wife and I moved there. We were living in Rochester, New York. I lived there for 29 years altogether. And up there I was pastor of the First Baptist Church in Rochester. And then I taught 2 years at Colgate Rochester Divinity School.
Oh, right.
And then the last 9 years I was there, I was the executive assistant to the mayor. It was Mr. William Johnson, black man. He's from Lynchburg, Virginia, but he had been working up in Michigan and in Rochester in the Urban League. So my background is race relations and civil rights, and his in the Urban League. And when he got elected to office, I left the church about the same time, and he took me on, and I worked with him for almost all of his administration.
So this is how you returned to Mississippi with his.
Well, he had been in office 3 terms. That's 12 years, and
okay.
He was getting ready to step out and take a position at Rochester Institute of Technology, teaching political science. And about that same time, I developed some health problems, and I decided that it was hard for me to be out in the winter and do my exercises and stuff with snow up to my hips. So my wife took a job in Carrollton, Georgia. It's just outside of Atlanta.
Yeah.
And we moved to Georgia, and I retired from pastoral work, but I'm doing further work in race relations. Lawrence Guyot and I are starting an organization called Not by Bread Alone.
Oh, okay.
And we're looking at what the progress has been in the South, and most of it right now has been focused on the Mississippi Delta, but we're moving beyond that. So I'm on my own in my retirement years doing this work daily.
Now, is this a foundation grant of some sort, or is how is this financed? May I ask?
Well, so far it's being financed off of my hip.
Oh, really?
I'm not wealthy by any means, but I'm able to do what we're doing so far. But later, maybe there'll be some foundation money.
I see. Now, you are familiar with some of the publications about civil rights and, the involvement of some of the persons who, what we might say, well-recognized personalities like Aaron Henry and some others? Is that...
Well, when I was in Mississippi, I came in late 1964, in December, actually, and Dr. Aaron Henry, I was executive director of the Mississippi Council on Human Relations.
Okay.
And Dr. Henry was a member of my board of directors. I could go on down the list of a lot of people. Bishop Gray, Duncan Gray, was a member of the board of directors. Rabbi Nussbaum was at that time. Reverend Payne, Methodist pastor from down on at that time on Parish Street. I forget who I was on the board, but I came here to organize biracial councils for the Southern Regional Council, and we had.
Is this in Jackson? The headquarters?
Headquarters was in Jackson,
right.
And we were a program of the Southern Regional Council in Atlanta.
Okay.
Actually, to give you a historical context for this,
okay.
After the Second World War, in the northern cities and states, they organized human relations commissions designed to deal with grievances that minorities had in terms of employment and housing, that kind of thing. In the southern states, they wouldn't organize biracial commissions to deal with grievances. Okay, so the Ford Foundation and the Field Foundation and Taconic and New World Foundations gave the Southern Regional Council in Atlanta, which was a biracial organization, they gave them some large grants to organize councils on human relations to complement what they had in the North as human relations commissions.
Okay.
So that's what it was, and our work here wasn't so much taking in complaints. Everything was a complaint. The whole society was a complaint. But what our work was to try to organize biracial councils in the major cities so that there would at least be some dialogue across racial lines. We had a council on the Gulf Coast. We had a council here in Jackson. I had one up in Columbus. And about the time those three got organized, the three civil rights workers had gotten killed over in Neshoba County. And from 1964, the end of 64, until, I'd say 1970, national and international press was in and out of here daily. I ended up doing a lot of hosting of the press.
Really?
In other words, when they came here, they had to have somebody to help orient them. It wasn't a job I had. It's just that word got around that I was here and would do it. So I spent a great deal of my time working with liaison to the press. Also, at that time, our congressional representatives, the Senators Eastland and Stennis, they wouldn't touch anything that had to do with race. So when federal government came in dealing with issues, a lot of times they would come to me to do their advance work. I did the advance work for Marion Wright Edelman, and I did. It became known as the Hungry Children Senate hearings. They were actually Senate hearings on manpower and labor, but they turned into the Hungry Children hearings. And I also did advance work for them in the Delta when they came in to study the problems of the elderly. And then also on the Gulf Coast when we had Hurricane Camille.
Did you all sort of target different cities like Greenville, Jackson? How did you go about?
Well, we had a statewide membership.
Okay.
And we would try to work in places where there were already 4 or 5 people belonging to the state organization. But to tell you the truth, after the summer of 64 and 65 and then up to 67, with the bombings and burnings and killings that went on, we didn't have any time to deal with biracial councils. I mean, we were going from one tragedy to another, and mostly trying to fight those kinds of fires, and came along up in, I don't know, somewhere there in that period, Dr. Brooks over there took on the Vietnam cause and joined it to the race issue.
Pretty
so
wider, eh?
He used to twist my arm to try to get me to go on the soapbox on Vietnam, and I never would do it.
Okay.
I was afraid if I joined. They already accused me of being a communist. And to be accused of being a communist in Mississippi was a license to get killed. But anyway, the Council on Human Relations, we continue to emphasize that, but most of our time was taken up with day-to-day stuff. One of the things that I spent a lot of time with was issue of desegregation of the hospitals.
All right.
One night, about 1 o'clock, I got a telephone call, and I didn't know who it was. They didn't say who it was. And they just told me that there was a young black man up in Canton that had been beaten near to death, and he was at the university hospital, and they wouldn't treat him, and hung up the phone. Well, I didn't know if that was a trap for me or what it was.
Yes.
But I got up out of bed and went over to the hospital, and sure enough, there was a young black man who just graduated from college over in North Carolina and gotten married the same day and had been commissioned in the Air Force the same day. 3 things in one day. Got him a wife, a commission, and his mother gave him a new car for graduation, and he had brought his new wife home to show him where he had played in a blues band up in outside of Canton.
Okay.
So he took her over on Friday night to see the place, you know. He didn't know while he was going to college it had turned into a white club.
Oh.
So he walks in with his wife and sits down, you know. It's kind of dark in there. He didn't know it was a white club. And, they'd been there 3 or 4 minutes until three guys grabbed him and took him out, put him spread eagle back across the car and beat him near to death. His wife ran through a cotton field and caught a ride in the car, and somebody took her to Canton, and then they called me. I hadn't been here very long, but nevertheless, when I got to the hospital, he was lying there on a gurney in a room. There's nobody around, no staff, nothing. And, you know, it's the middle of the morning. But I went in, room, and finally found him. And his head was leaning back off of it like this, and blood was running down out of his nose and his mouth, and it actually formed pools in his eye sockets. It was closed. He was sort of semi-conscious. He didn't talk or anything, but when I talked to him, he'd sometimes nod his head a little bit. But anyway, make a long story short, finally a doctor did come around and told me to get him out of there. And I said, no, we're not leaving until he's treated. And he said, no, he's not being treated here. I said, well, he is. He said, he's, you know.
He's been admitted.
Man's in bad trouble. No, he hadn't been admitted.
Oh.
They just left him there. The ambulance had.
Oh.
But anyway, what he said to me was, I said, what do you want me to do with him? He said, do the same thing you do with all these niggers that come in here on Friday night drunk. I said, well, you know, he's not drunk, but it doesn't matter whether he was or not. This man's in bad trouble. See, there was marks on his back, big bruises, about the size of my hand, you know. And he was semi-conscious, and his face was all beaten up. And I said, well, he's not leaving until he's treated. And I said, he said, you a doctor? I said, no, I'm not a doctor, but he's not leaving until he's treated. So they called the highway patrol, and the highway patrol came in, and the highway patrolman came over to me, and he said, I'm sorry to have to say this to you. He said, I really don't want to act this way, but he said, if you're not out here in 15 minutes, we're going to lock you up. Well, I walked across the room. There's a telephone over there, and, you know, I don't know whatever made me think of this. But I dropped my, it was just cost a nickel back then. I dropped my nickel in the thing and called the long-distance operator, and she answered, and I said, I want you to give me the Air Force Command in Colorado Springs. Well, in 10 seconds, the day sergeant answered the phone out there. And I told him, I said, we got a black airman here that's been beaten up bad. He's in the hospital and they won't treat him. And this guy said, what hospital is that? Where it is? Give me an address. Who are you? What's the airman's name? I said, well, I'm not sure of his name. But anyway, it was less than the 15 minutes that in came the dean of the medical school, in came 3 doctors, and in came Earl Truist, the director of public relations, and of course I didn't get arrested. But they did treat this young man, and to make this story a little shorter, he went on to. They had to do plastic surgery on him in 19 places on his face, and he ended up going on into the Air Corps. And while he was in the Air Corps, he made application to the University of Mississippi School of Medicine. he came back to the School of Medicine, and would you believe that the man who refused to treat him that night was the same man that was appointed as his supervisor when he came into the University of Mississippi, and he didn't want to have him. But he stuck with it, both of them did, and he graduated, and he's been working as a doctor up in the southern part of the Delta now for 35 years.
So you're in contact with him sometimes?
Once every few years we talk. Okay. His name is Dr. Barty.
Okay.
You may have heard of him. He's from here in Jackson. Okay. His mother, I think, is up in her 90s and still lives here. But yes, Dr. Barty. And but anyway, my point is that was the status. If you didn't go to if you were black and didn't go to one of the 3 welfare hospitals, why you didn't get treated. And so a good bit of our time had to deal with issues like that. No, access to health care, and particularly emergency care, was almost non-existent.
Can you share with me some of the other persons who were sort of on your team outside of the one you just mentioned, Dr. Henry and some other persons?
See, I was at that time I was 30, 31, 32 years old, okay? And I had just got out of seminary. I came from seminary directly here. I guess when I came I was 28. But anyway, I ran mostly with SNCC kids. Lawrence Guillotte was my closest friend.
Oh, okay.
And Guillotte and I used to spend a lot of time together working on issues. Guillotte was working in SNCC doing local organizing and voter registration. I wasn't that much into the voter registration, but Guillotte and I conversed about practically everything we did. So I was getting input from him, and he was from me. One of the things that I did that you'll find probably stunning, when I left seminary, and I was single, so they wasn't going to hire. No, it wasn't going to be a Baptist church hire a single man, to be pastor. They don't do that. And I started trying to figure out what is the bottom line in the gospel. My conclusion was that the bottom line in the gospel was to love your enemy. Well, when I came here, the black people weren't my enemies. If I got in a tough situation, I went to Ferry Street because that was my haven,
Yes. Okay.
So they weren't. So I was over. Some of us, Jane Stenbridge and a bunch of us had gone over to Alabama for the March on Selma. And I remember seeing all these, we marched a good part of the way, but when we got into Montgomery, we were standing on the side, some of us were, and this wave after wave of people coming through, And I saw 3 or 4 young guys over there, about 17, 18, 19, running along beside chanting, But you nigger lovers slow down. And they'd be smoking cigarettes, and they'd flip their cigarettes, at the marchers. And sitting there looking across the street at them, or standing there, I thought, well, that's really interesting. It looks like my brother. And it really did. A couple of these guys look like they're my own brothers. And it dawned on me at that moment that, here are the people that's my responsibility. It's not only the issue of identifying with people who've been victimized, but making some kind of relationship and establishing them to people who, are your opposition. Well, essentially, my white brothers was my enemy, so to speak.
Yes.
So I came back here and started trying to develop relationships in that sector of the community. And that led me directly to the Ku Klux Klan. one fall they were having the Mississippi Fair, you know. The Council on Human Relations. Yeah, the Council on Human Relations wanted to have a booth at the fair. They wouldn't give me one.
Okay.
So I told them if they didn't give me one, I was going to sue them. So they gave me a booth and told me I needed to go down ahead of time and get it ready and everything. Well, I went down there ahead of time, and they had my booth right here. It was just like that table.
Mm-hmm.
And over here at these tables, they had another booth, and that was for the Americans, for the preservation of the white race, an auxiliary of the Klan. So they intentionally put us together, see?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, that was all right with me because I decided that would be a chance for me to get to know who they are.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm.
And if I got
use that as an opportunity.
I did. If I was supposed to love my enemy, there they are.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Presented to me by the state agriculture department, fair commission, put right on my lap. Okay. Well, after we'd been there 2 or 3 nights, they knocked the windows, broke the windows out of workers that were working in my booth of their car. And it was an older woman, 70 years old, was helping me in my booth. They knocked the windows out of her car with her in it. And then the next night, they went out and cut the tires off of my car. Funny story about that, cutting my tires off, because I was...
They just didn't let the air out. They
knifed them.
Knifed them. Ice pick like.
There's a knife.
Knife, yeah.
The knife.
Okay.
They had cut places about that far. But anyway, all 4 of them, cars sitting down, you know, out there behind the buildings. And I went out there looking at it, and while I was looking at it, a young black man said, hey, mister. And he was in the back seat of a car over there, just about 2 cars away, with his girlfriend. He was a black guy. And a young fella, about 20 years old, he said to me, I know who did that. I was back here in this car, and we saw him.
Mm.
I said, well, would you mind walking through the fairground, through the building with me and pointing them out?
Mm.
So when we went through the building, of course, he said it's those in that booth there, APWR.
Mm-hmm.
So at the time, I carried a gun, and which, looking back on it, was a foolish thing to do. But nevertheless, I did. And I went over and made a telephone call and called the FBI.
Oh, okay.
And I told them what had happened, and I said, look, I'm sitting down here. I just need you to know I'm armed. And I said, if I have any problem with these people, I'm going to defend myself. Jim Ingram was the FBI agent, and Jim said, Kenny, don't do anything, and we'll be right there. So they came down there and had him arrested.
Now this is maybe 4 or 6 men, or more than that?
Arrested 2.
Oh, 2, okay.
They were brothers. But anyway, out of that situation, I got to know 3 or 4 of these guys. And I would have them come to my house and sit down, and we would discuss the issue. And of course, they thought all of us civil rights workers were communists. I mean, Barry Goldwater had said we were. J. Edgar Hoover had said we were.
Of course, yes.
Okay? Mm-hmm. So they felt justified to do whatever they wanted to us, particularly those of us that are from outside the state.
Mm-hmm.
But when I was working with those, it turned out that 2 of the guys that I was working with were bombers in the Klan. And as long as I was working with them, they didn't do anything. But it kind of, the whole thing tailed off in a lot of ways then anyway. But the story of the Meridian incident, where the FBI went in and set a trap for Tommy Terrence, and when he came that night to lay a bomb, they opened up fire and killed Kathy Ainsworth. Well, Kathy Ainsworth had been a roommate of my sister-in-law in college, and my sister-in-law didn't know it, but she had joined the Klan. She was in there, but the problem that I had with that whole situation was that the FBI had paid money to get the bombing set up so they could kill him. Well, you can't build justice by using the tactics the Klan themselves used.
Oh, yeah, sure.
But anyway, I worked with a lot of those kinds of things. I figured that if I had to work with who your enemy is, I spent hours upon hours working with Earl Johnston in the Sovereignty Commission, trying to get Earl to turn things in a new way, and he did. Earl eventually cut off the money to the White Citizens Council and quit publishing their paper. And eventually Earl ended up on a committee out at Tougaloo, helping them set up their archives for civil rights.
But this is most revealing. I couldn't. All right. I don't want to interrupt. Go ahead.
You interview Reuben Anderson.
Oh, okay.
Reuben's the one who got him to come on the committee out at Tougaloo.
He is on the board still, I do believe.
All right, he's a trustee out there.
Yes.
But my point is that I probably was the only person in the state who was trying to work across lines in that way. These guys knew that I was working in civil rights. They knew I was for race relations. In fact, when WLBT lost its license, I put together a biracial corporation, and Dr. Aaron Shirley and I were working together. I had helped him start the Jackson-Hines Comprehensive Health Center.
Yes, sure.
I was first chairman of his board.
Oh, really?
And yeah, and he came on as vice president of Council on Human Relations, and I was executive director, and he was executive director at the Hines Health Center, and I was his president. So we swapped a lot of things off, and we still work together. But anyway, when I was was president of WLBT, running WLBT, I hired a black general manager.
Who was that?
William Dilday.
Yeah, yes, sure. I just want you to, for the record, go ahead.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Well, that was the first black general manager in the television industry in the country.
Sure, he was.
And I went up to Boston and got Mr. Dilday. It was a long, hard process, but I don't know how much time we got for this interview. But we had put in place, Dr. Shirley and I had on the WLBT Board of Directors. We call that Communications Improvement Incorporated, CII. But that was the board's name, okay, the organization's name. The television station was named WLBT. It stayed that way, but we couldn't get our general manager to hire black employees, and we'd inherited him from the Lamar operation, Bob McCraney. And every time we'd have a position come open, Bob would say, "We can't hire black for this, can't find any that's trained." He said, "We'll hire a trainee that's black and a white that's full-time, So I said to myself one day, well, if we keep on doing this, we're going to have 84 white employees that are full-time employees. We're going to have 84 trainees.
Yeah, sure.
So the board met, Earl Jones and Aaron Shirley and Lee Rife was on the board from out at Millsaps College, and Jack Shuford, an insurance salesman here. And we discussed the issue, and that was our executive committee. And the executive committee said, it's time to let Bob go. Our general manager said he doesn't want to work for us. So we let him go. Well, what that meant was now the policy that we'd established of hiring blacks until we got equity with the service area, which would have meant 40% of the station's employees would be black. And that was our policy. We'd adopted that policy. Now it meant that it was our responsibility to hire black and general managers, please. Because we had to follow the same policy we'd set, So I went on a search for a president, a general manager. And as it turned out, there had been no black general managers. I couldn't go find one with experience. So finally I decided what to do would be, and I went up and down the East Coast and the West and the Midwest and everywhere trying to find a black general manager, So we found Bill Dilday, who had been with WHBQ in Boston, and he had been sent by them to the IBM Managers Training School. So I said, well, the television is just a business. if he's been to the management training school with IBM, he's had some good training as a executive. He knows television language at least because he was a community relations director for HBQ in Boston. Mm-hmm. So we hired Mr. Dilday. He made us get a big insurance policy on his wife before he'd come. That was his wife's condition. But
anyway, you all met those conditions at the outset.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah,
a bunch of people came to me and said, "Hey, turn this into a nigger station now." Use that word freely, and I don't use that word, but I'm using it to tell you what happened. So we had 6 people to withdraw their advertising the first week.
Gracious.
And one was a car dealer, and they were good accounts. But before the week was up, all of them but 2 had come back. They needed us worse than we needed them.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And anyway, Mr. Dilday became very successful and became a part of the Television Broadcasters Association in New York City and represented them, and had a very successful career with us.
Who else was along there that he may have recruited?
Well,
one personnel like
one of the persons that we developed was Randall Pinkston. Willie Pinkston is known over here, and he's gone on, and he's a CBS weekend person in New York City.
That's right.
I'm still in touch with him. A key member of our organization, not black, but a man who was a key member of our organization was Bert Case, because we wanted to do investigative reporting, and Bert was good at that. Yeah. Of course, Bert's still working there.
Sure.
And Dennis Smith is somebody we developed. He's the news director there now. Another black.
Was he from outside? Is he a Mississippi?
Dennis Smith?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, he is?
Yeah, he's a big Air National Guard guy here.
Oh, okay.
He and Bert both are from Jackson. But Walter Sadler was the first black anchor in this market, and we developed that. And I can't remember all of the people, but we when we hired Bill Dilday, within less than a year we'd reached parity. We had 38% of our staff was black, and we didn't have to fire people. We did it through natural attrition. So that was a very gratifying experience for me, and you would be surprised that some of the conservative people here in this town, after they had said, you're turning it into a nigger station and all that business, 5 years later they came back and said, we want to apologize.
Yeah.
Said this has gone very well.
Yeah.
We one of the employees that came open a position that came over to the station actually was the receptionist. And I remember the manager came to us and said, you can't put a black receptionist out there, so that's the face of the station.
Face of the station. Indeed.
And I said, well, I'll tell you what, if we can't put a black face out there, what we'll do, we're going to put one in as general manager. So you can either hire a black receptionist or walk. Well, I think he tried to sabotage the situation, the general manager did, because he got a woman that didn't look very becoming for that position. It wasn't somebody that you would put in that kind of position, generally speaking. But appearances were misleading. She actually was a brilliant woman. She took over that desk, handled those phones, decided who could and couldn't come into that television station from day one. I don't know how long she worked there. She may still be there. I know she was there for 20 years.
Oh, that's interesting. Wow.
I tell those stories because they are stories of success of African American people who all they needed was an opportunity.
Right, right. Now, what about your involvement with some of the local ministers and the like that were Baptists? Any ministers were at that point helpful? Did you go to any of the black ministers or not? Who comes to mind in this?
Look, let me say it this way. There were almost no white ministers. The pastor at Galloway Methodist Church.
Oh, okay. See.
And
that's United Methodist, like you said. Now, I know the United Methodists have always been, since the 60s, they have sort of...
Well, initially they weren't, and the head of the state here, see, they fired 44 Methodist ministers here for signing a petition supporting integration.
Yeah.
But we had a few. Bill Carroll, Bill's now up in Tupelo, and we had James O'Connor from Hattiesburg. He's a white Methodist that supported us. Clay Lee did some, who was at Galloway. But those were about the only three that I remember there. Now, we had black Methodists, Reverend McCree up in Canton, and Reverend Payne from here in town. And I forgot the man's name in Laurel, Johnson, Reverend Johnson. We had black ministers from all around the state. Most of them were Methodists. Very few of them Baptists. Very few Baptists.
Were you affiliated with the Delta ministry also?
No.
Not at all.
Dr. Brooks was, but I was not. I was a Southern Baptist.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to First Baptist Church here and a while because Mr. Davis over there, who did the work that they called then with Negro Baptists, and he of course was supportive, but he had to be guarded. He had to be very careful with him because at the church they told people over there that I was mentally ill, not paying attention to me. And I later became a part of the Northminster congregation that formed, and my wife and I were charter members. That's out on the north side of town. And it was a more open congregation, but there wasn't many people there involved in race relations either, but they did tolerate me.
What about the Catholic priest? Any Catholic priest? Nussbaum, certainly he is Jewish, but...
Well, Nussbaum was the man that hired me.
Okay.
He was responsible for hiring me. He interviewed me when I came here. Catholic priest situation is mixed. Father McClune down on the coast was very good. Father Luke in Canton was very good.
Bishop Bernina was in that period, wasn't he?
I'm going to tell you about Bishop in just a minute.
Right, excuse me.
The Franciscans up in the Delta were very good. Okay. Right. I went to see Bishop Brunini one day, and he didn't quite understand who I was. And so when I went in, he made reference to the coloreds. We talked a little while longer, and I think he thought I was with the White Citizens Council. I don't know what he thought.
Oh, okay.
But anyway, he mentioned the coloreds and then the niggers, and then he wasn't sure who I was with, and he started saying Nigra. And when he found out I was with the Council on Human Relations, Negro.
Yes.
Okay, we went through that right there in a 30-minute period. I heard him use every one of those words. Okay. Bishop Brunini was caught in a trap, and as you see, his brother was president of the bank, First National Bank, and the closest tie that Jim Eastland had was with Brunini. So Brunini was banking on Bishop Brunini was banking on Jim Eastland to get him private school money that would include Catholic parochial schools. So Brunini was never really over on what I would consider to be the more right side of this issue.
Okay.
Now, I'm not telling you that he didn't go make some speeches and later on he didn't moderate some. He did.
Yes, that's true.
I'm just telling you that he came out of out of the initial old piece of cloth of the old South. All right.
Right.
Bernie Law was willing to work in race relations, and he was a member of the Council on Human Relations. But Bernie was one of those guys that resigned from my Council on Human Relations because he thought I was pink, you know. He thought I was too radical. Thought I was a fellow traveler with the
card and everything.
Yeah, and that's not true. I have never known anything about anybody in the communist movement then or now. But that's where we got labeled, you know. So Bernie sort of pulled out separate, and he opposed CDGM, he opposed FDP, he opposed me and the Council on Human Relations, and set up his own kind of thing dominated by Catholics in order to build a STAR program, they called it. It was adult literacy program down toward Mendenhall. So that the Catholics, I was lecturing up at MIT one year for James Silver, who had been up at Ole Miss and got run off. And Jim asked me about the Catholic Church. I said, well, if you could get a bulldozer as wide as the state of Mississippi is, you could start at Memphis and just come on down to the Gulf and just push that whole organization off in the ocean. When the class is over, Silver said, boy, said, you got more guts than anybody I ever knew. I said, what's the matter? He said, don't you understand that half of my people in this class are going either to be nuns or into the Catholic Church? I said, no, well, they didn't lynch me. But my point is this. To be honest with you, the Catholic Church did very little. And what little bit it did do, it was try to bring in its own interest. Except for those independent priests out there who were not of the diocesan order, but who were from the Franciscans and some of the other orders. You follow me? And you couldn't get a better man than Father Luke was in Canton. You couldn't get a better man than Father McClune on the coast. Every time Larry Giat came to the coast, Father McClune was there. And you know, he worked with Dr. Mason. Did you
meet Father Lawrence Watts?
Yeah, I knew Father Lawrence. He's Episcopalian, wasn't he?
You know, I don't know. He was. I do believe though he was a diocesan though. I think he was of no order. I might be wrong.
The Lawrence Watts that I knew was Episcopalian.
No. I'm talking about who was pastor of Christ the King Catholic Church. That's the one I'm talking about. I'm talking about Lawrence Watts. I think he was diocesan priest.
It probably was. I don't know.
He was in the early 60s.
Yeah.
And 70s. Yeah.
Well, I can't remember all of them as clearly as I'd like to, but that was my experience with the Catholic Church, all right?
Right.
You Catholic?
I am. I'm a convert. I have to admit that. And perhaps I've been since 75.
Yeah, well,
right.
I hope it's a meaningful experience for you. And,
yes.
And I'm not damning the Catholics. I'm just trying to answer a question. My father, I grew up, my father was the administrator at St. Mary's Hospital in Knoxville, Tennessee.
Oh, okay.
So I grew up with the Sisters of Mercy.
Oh, right.
And, but you know, Catholics are like Baptists. This one over here may be one way and that one over there may be another way.
A lot of autonomy.
Well, there is.
Yes.
In those kinds of things, there is, yeah.
Let me focus on some of the other things that you raised now. So now, what about your involvement with Tougaloo during that period? Any comment on that?
Well, you see, the Council on Human Relations at one time got shut down by the state and by the White Citizens Council and by violence.
Okay.
And it was because they were having meetings at Tougaloo.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's when I just
I guess one of my closest friends here was President Owens.
Oh, okay.
He was on my board, and he came on my board at the TV station. And he and his wife and I and Dr. Branch and his wife, we went to each other's homes for dinner and meals and those kinds of things. There's just too many people to talk about too. Right. Ed King was out there, of course, and Dr. Berinsky, and could go on down the line. I spent a lot of time at Tougaloo.
All right.
And when our television station took and set its profits aside, they were designed to go to Tougaloo, and they were given to Tougaloo.
Yes.
So, I have a lot of connection with Tougaloo.
Yes. Now, I'm sort of narrowing this down and coming to some kind of conclusion. Now, what kind of evaluation are you going to give the conveners of this conference, Dr. Dean? How are things going here at the conference? You just arrived and the like. Any comments on, is this really a reunion, so to speak? Any comments on?
Well, it's a reunion for me in some ways. I work with Larry Gee out there all the time.
Yeah.
And I see Owen frequently, and yet Dory Ladner is somebody that I haven't seen much, and Charles McLaurin from up in the Delta. A lot of those people I see. Armand Durfner is going to be here from South Carolina, one of the lawyers, and Ed King's coming later, and also Dr. Shirley will be here. So yeah, it's an upbeat time for me, and I think it's very important. There's a number of young people around, and I don't know who's bought them or what that's all about.
We might give Mr. Travis some credit.
Yeah,
outreach.
That's a renewal to see him.
Yes.
Well, I think that's very promising, because it's not about those of us who've been here. It's about those of us who are going to be here and who are here now. My life has been defined by my experience in Mississippi.
I see.
And whether I was here or somewhere else, I was doing what I learned in Mississippi.
Now, is there any kind of process that should be put in place to sort of keep this conference, if not this movement, alive, that you can sort of relate to at the off the cuff, so to speak?
Well,
is this a good start?
This conference is good.
Okay.
You see, the truth of the matter is, while all the problems are not solved and never will be solved, racism will always exist to some extent, and it'll exist with whites and blacks and whomever else, because it is inbred into us that it's me and mine first, and that is self-preservation. But unless a person matures to see that all people are human, without regard to race or religion or national origin or gender or any of that stuff, and all are of equal value, and all are the children of God. And so you can't hate one of the children of God and be pleasing in God's sight.
True.
It's just that simple. And yet, still, when people are born, they have a tendency to favor that group that they feel closest to, and that's race. But I'm convinced that our task as human beings is to overcome that. Okay, so we have to continue working on it. But I must say to you, there is almost no connection between the atmosphere that existed here in the 60s and the 70s and what's here now. Okay? We've come a long way. I know we got problems, terrible problems. I know the poverty rate's not different now than what it was then. I understand all that. But there's no fear of us meeting here. In 1960s and 70s, we'd have to have people at the doors.
Yes.
And there'd be two people in there that would be spies with tape recorders under their coat, then find who was here. And they'd go to the police department. And the police department would be giving them some tickets a little later. And the tickets would go into bigger tickets,
Yes.
That was the nature of the world. We don't have that now. Probably the chief of police black, right?
Yes.
So you're not going to have him spying on civil rights conference. So the world has changed a lot. And I think it's changed for the good. We still got huge problems, particularly in the area of poverty and economics. But even there, in '67, when I took Bobby Kennedy, Marion Wright Edelman, and I took Bobby Kennedy and Senator Joseph Clark through the Delta, the only toys that children had to play with back then was an old hoop from a bicycle wheel,
I recall, yes.
And they'd have a stick and a hoop, and maybe have a sock filled with grass and straw and tie it off tight and use it as a ball. Well, when I was up in the Delta recently, the poor kids, they're well clothed now, And they've got food programs from WIC all the way across the food
Some
stamps.
designer fashions.
What?
Some designer fashions.
There's some designer fashion clothes. There's secondhand clothes, but they look good.
Yes.
And but the other point is this: strolling around in those kids' yards, just like everywhere else among kids, they got red and yellow and green and blue plastic toys. You would never have seen that in '67. In '67, they say, the sociologists say, that one of the ways to tell about the level of economics in a society is to look at the dogs. And if you can see the dog's ribs, there ain't no food left over for them. Well, we got pictures of dogs from '67. The dogs' ribs look like a washboard. Well, I was up in Delta the other day, and a man comes out. There's still some places up there where they got shacks. Not a lot of places, but there are a few in some of those towns.
Yeah.
And we were in one of those towns that we'd been in 1967. We're back in them again, and it's 40 years, and they're still the same, except they put running water in them. And a man walks out about 10:30 in the morning. Just woke up. He's got pajamas on. Well, you wouldn't have seen a man come out in pajamas in '67. He's lucky to have a pair of pants. This man had on nice pajamas, and he set a bowl of water down. One of these aluminum pans that you used to wash your face out of, full of water for this dog. And I didn't see the dog, but it was one of those days when it was getting up to be around 94, 95 degrees. And I thought, that dog's going to die if he drinks that water. So the man went back in the house. This was in Belzoni. And so I go over to look to see how much water is in there. It's not water. That man's giving that dog meatballs and spaghetti left over from the night before. Now, you wouldn't have found meatballs and spaghetti in 1964, 67, okay? Now, you see, the housing and that setting is not changed. But as bad as that setting is today, they got food, okay? They're able to feed their pets, and there's toys around. The school is all black, but it's got a black school superintendent, black teachers, black staff. There are a few whites in there, but
1%.
White?
Yes.
Probably. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I saw one white person in the school, and it was a mental retarded kid. But nevertheless, when I was coming, the roads in the Delta are different. They're 4-lane roads now. They're beautiful roads, and that transportation thing is very different. Trailer truck was behind me. It's an 18-wheeler. One of these carries liquids in it. Silver, pretty, zoom, right on my tail of me already doing 75. So I pull over to the side of the road and let him go on. And so this trailer truck zooms by me and on down the road for about 5 miles, and we were right in the middle of the Delta. Okay? And ain't nothing as far as you can see,
Oh, sure.
Well, up comes a cop from somewhere and
they
pulls him over.
Yes.
So I've seen it down there about a mile off, I thought, oh, well, they caught the man. So I go down there and slow down around there. The highway patrolman that stopped him is black.
Yeah.
The man that's driving the truck is black. So I pass on by, okay? Mm-hmm. Now, you wouldn't have dare seen that in 1965. Black highway patrolman.
That's right.
Wouldn't see black truck driving there. Mm-hmm. So going down there about 2 or 3 miles, and the highway patrolman went the other way, and the truck came on down behind me. So we came to a red light down there where the highways intersect, and there was no traffic around. So I just put my car in park, and I hopped out there, and I said to the truck driver, and he saw me, he hopped out of his truck. And I said, what happened back there? I saw you got arrested. Well, this truck driver was wearing designer jeans, okay? He had on a knit type of shirt like I'm wearing with monograms. Had on designer sunglasses. Had on a gold chain and Oxford like I'm wearing. And looked quite nice, I said, what happened? He said, what do you think happened? I said, well, I don't know. What happened? I said, I need to know. He said, he just told me, he said, now you be careful. Now you be careful.
Now,
can you imagine in 1964,
yes.
a white highway patrolman arrested a black man in the Delta who was going 75, 80 miles an hour in a truck and telling him to be careful? Things have changed.
Yes, revolutionized. Yes. Now, let me taper off. Now, are there any unsolicited comments you'd like to make? I sort of pointed you in one direction, if not two or three. Now, anything I left out that you would like to sort of share on tape, so to speak?
Well, I did the first review of school desegregation here in 1965. And I was called to give a report of that at a education meeting, but I didn't know. I just thought it was 15 or 20 people going to be there. I didn't know who it was. Marion Wright Edelman called me in the middle of the night. You know who she is.
Sure.
Marion and I were friends.
Yes.
She called me about 2:30 in the middle of the night one night, and the day before the report was to be given, and show you how we did sometimes back in those days, how we were loose with language and all that kind of stuff. Marion called me at 2:30 in the morning. She said, "Where are you and where have you been? I've been trying to reach you for 2 days. You're the hardest blasted nigger I've ever tried to get a hold of." And then she caught herself and realized it was white, She said, oh, excuse me, I apologize. I said, no, man, I take that as a compliment. I said, I understand in certain situations you use certain language you use otherwise. And we both laughed about it. She said, well, you white honky. Said, when you get up there and give that report tomorrow, said, if you don't do justice to these black kids who are trying to go to school, said, you're going to have hell to pay. Yeah. So I got my speech had already written, and I went in there and sat down and looked at it, and I thought, well, maybe it needs to be a little stronger here, a little stronger there. So I worked on that thing.
Revamped it.
And when I got in there the next day to give it, I didn't. I just thought it'd be 15 or 20 people. I didn't know who they were. Well, they had 1,200 people because the school superintendent had ordered all of the principals, high school, junior high, and elementary, from all of the counties to come because the Secretary of Education from Washington, D.C. was here. Foundations were here that were doing education. So all of the big folk in education were here, It was in a Heidelberg hotel in their larger room, and it was filled. Well, I guess that empowered me a little bit, and I couldn't get Marion out of my head. So I see there hadn't been but about 54 black kids go to white schools that first year. And so I'd interviewed most of them. So I said, 34% of them's fathers lost their job. 22% of them got run out of their house. 45% of them had their utilities cut off. I went right down the line about it. Well, in the middle of that speech, Attorney General Patterson, he ran over and bammed up against me and grabbed the microphone, took it away from me, and started talking about, it's this kind of people that's causing all the troubles here, everything was well, and trying to knock me off the stage. And there were 3 people from the Justice Department back there, and I didn't know it. And those 3 people came out and got between us and settled the situation down. But the next day, the newspaper said that I would have done credit to Rap Brown standing on the street corner of Harlem trying to incite a riot.
Clarion Ledger.
Yeah. Well, I don't remember if it was Clarion Ledger or the Daily News. I think it was the
Daily News. Of course.
Yeah,
you're right. Yeah, right. Okay.
But anyhow, attitudes about race are terribly important, but the issue is education. It always has been. From the time that they established a slave economy here, down after the Civil War when they tried to continue what's called a low-wage economy, the sacrifices that were made in that were education, because there never was enough tax base to build good schools. And only now are we coming to the place where we're being able to put together some better schools. But I think that the resistance to good race relations has always been drawn around the issue of education. And I think that that's been critically important. And I know it sounds like a cliche, but we've got to do everything we can to help kids to understand that they got to learn and be educated. The difference is between what happens with kids that are educated and not educated. It's like two different worlds. So anyway, that's the point that I know that the modern civil rights movement, so to speak, began around that Supreme Court decision on education.
Yeah.
And rightly so. And I just want to say that I am deeply grateful for my time in Mississippi. When I left here, after I thought I'd finished my work with Mississippi in terms of the television station, and I felt like it was time for me to get on with pastoral ministry, I didn't know how much of my heart I was leaving in Mississippi. So I still, in a lot of ways, feel at home in Mississippi, and I'm doing work now that has to do with a 40-year review. Larry Giat and I are putting that together.
Okay.
We're organizing a group called Not by Bread Alone,
All right.
meaning that there are other things that you have to emphasize, not just that part of things. And I'm also doing a study of the impact of the news media. Mainly we're dealing with newspapers with printed pictures, and because that helps people shape their self-concept, and it affects other people's attitudes toward them. And I must say the newspapers are really doing a great job. You don't find racist stuff in newspapers much anymore. And a lot of very fine feature stories, a lot of educational pieces in there, and they cover the news as it is. Of course, a lot more blacks elected into political office, and so that means that you get more coverage of blacks. So I think the media, beginning in the 80s anyway, turned a corner, and the media in the South, not just the liberal establishment from New York and Boston, but the media here has done a really good job. So I'll stop with that, and I thank you, and I'm glad you're doing this project, and Mr. Brooks will get off my back now. I want to say one word. Owen Brooks
Go ahead.
is a hero in Mississippi.
Very good.
A lot of people don't know that much about him, but he's a hero. He stuck to the call and has never wavered.
Thank you for those comments. We certainly appreciate your time, and we hope to see you next year at the same conference.
Well, I plan to be here, and I look forward to seeing you, and then I'm going to hear some of your story.
All right.
Thank you, Ms. Mace.
All right. Yes. All right. We have this and everything, and here again, maybe within 2 months I can get you a transcript and you'll get it back to me. Maybe at the time.
I'll get it right back to you. I'll get it right back to you.
Let me write off your mailing address though.
On that right over there.
Oh, it's on. Oh, you gave me your card.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much. Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
All
Everything's
right.
on there.
Thank you.
You're doing good work.
Thank you. Thank you.
Be here.
If you come on campus, we're in Air Hall.
AYER?
AYER Hall
Right.
is the headquarters for the Margaret Walker National Research Center.
Good. That's good to see. Thank you.
All right. You got to go now?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
You want to leave it set up for another interview?
No, wait again. I'm not so. I will take it home with me. And I don't know about them. I don't know who else. I don't know who else will come in and replace you, though. That's what I'm trying to say. So just leave it up, and let's see, it's 5 to 3. You got to run.